Your brain was never designed to store tasks. It was built to create, to solve, to imagine. Yet every day you try to hold it all, deadlines, birthdays, ideas, to-do lists, until the weight becomes confusion. I'm Marcus Voss. For years I watched brilliant minds burn out not because they lacked discipline, but because they carried everything inside, with no system to support them. This channel isn't about motivation, it's about mental architecture and how to rebuild yours. Today's episode will show you that your forgetfulness isn't a flaw, it's a signal, and we are going to decode it together.
The problem isn't that you're disorganized, it's that you're relying on a brain function that was never built to carry your entire life. Trying to remember every meeting, every task, every idea, it's like using your short-term memory as a storage unit, and eventually it collapses. Not because you're weak, but because the system itself is overloaded. Your brain becomes a battlefield of open loops, half-finished thoughts, forgotten errands, mental reminders chasing each other in circles. It feels like chaos. You start the day with good intentions, but by noon your energy's scattered, your priorities blurred, and you're stuck responding to whatever screams the loudest.
This isn't forgetfulness. This is cognitive fatigue. And the longer you try to just remember more, the deeper you sink into that cycle, overthinking, underperforming, then blaming yourself for both. But here's the shift. Clarity doesn't come from trying harder. It comes from unloading what doesn't belong in your brain and building a system that thinks with you. In the next block, we'll uncover the science behind this overload and why externalizing your memory is the key to taking your mind back.
If you've ever felt like your mind's constantly full, but you're still forgetting things, you're not alone. And you're not broken. You're mentally exhausted. Not from doing too much, but from holding too much. You try to stay organized, you make mental lists, you tell yourself, I'll remember that later. But then, later comes, and you're hit with that sinking feeling. Something was forgotten. Again. A task, a deadline, a small errand, and in that moment, self-doubt creeps in. Why can't I keep it together? What's wrong with me? But here's the truth. This isn't a willpower problem. It's a bandwidth problem. You're trying to run your entire life from short-term memory, from the same space your brain uses to navigate a conversation or solve a simple problem. And over time, that space becomes cluttered with sticky thoughts. You can't focus deeply because your brain is on constant alert, trying not to forget. So instead of clarity, you get noise. Instead of momentum, you feel pressure. Even when you sit down to work, your attention fragments. You jump between tabs, recheck your calendar, reread your notes, not because you're lazy, but because your system is overwhelmed. This isn't how your mind was designed to operate. You were built to create, not to store. But when no external system supports you, your brain goes into survival mode, constantly spinning plates, constantly bracing for what might drop. And that's why real focus won't come from more effort. It comes from creating external structure so your brain can finally exhale. In the next block, we'll break down the neuroscience behind this and show you why this overload isn't your fault, but your wiring. Your brain was never meant to be a hard drive. It was built for problem-solving, creativity, and connection, not for storing every task, meeting, reminder, and decision. From a neuroscience perspective, the reason you feel mentally overloaded has nothing to do with laziness, and everything to do with how your working memory works. This part of your brain is like a small mental whiteboard. It holds just a few ideas at a time. And when you try to squeeze more onto it, tasks, to-dos, half-finished thoughts, the system becomes unstable. This is where the cognitive load theory comes in. It explains that when your mental processing is maxed out, your performance drops, even on simple tasks. That's why you feel scattered. That's why you forget small things even when you care. Now add the Zeigarnik Effect, a cognitive bias where the brain clings to unfinished tasks. It keeps looping back to what's incomplete, hijacking your attention, even when you're trying to focus on something else. The result? Mental noise, anxiety, fatigue. Here's the metaphor.
Imagine your brain as a smartphone with too many apps running in the background. Notifications pop up, the battery drains, the system slows down. But the problem isn't the phone, it's the lack of offloading. The good news is your brain is incredibly adaptable. Neuroplasticity means it can rewire itself, but only if you give it the right signals. Every time you take a thought out of your mind and put it into a trusted system, you free up cognitive bandwidth. You train your brain to focus, not to hold. And this is where real transformation begins. Not by pushing harder, but by designing a structure that supports clarity. Your mind is brilliant, but it was never meant to do it all alone. Next, I'll give you a technique so simple, so actionable, it can begin rewiring your focus in the next 24 hours. Let me introduce you to a practice called the second mind ritual. It's not a productivity hack, it's a cognitive anchor, a daily habit designed to pull your thoughts out of the chaos and place them into a system that brings relief, clarity, and direction. The second mind ritual is the first step in building what your brain truly craves, an external memory you can trust, a place where ideas go so they don't weigh on you anymore. And here's the challenge, simple but powerful. For the next 24 hours, every single thought that crosses your mind, task, idea, reminder, worry, must be captured outside of your brain. Pick your second mind, a notes app, a physical notebook, a whiteboard, whatever is instantly accessible and feels calming to you. This is your inbox, not for email, but for your mind. It's not a to-do list, it's a place to unload, freely and without editing. Every time you reach for a mental note, instead of thinking, I'll remember this, practice saying, my second mind will hold it. Write it down, type it, scribble it, just get it out. Now choose a moment of calm in your day, perhaps after lunch or just before bed, and review what you captured. You're not acting on everything, you're simply acknowledging your thoughts, giving them a home outside your head. That's it. This small shift has a big neurological impact. Why? Because the brain thrives on closure. When something is recorded outside of your mind, your brain gets a signal. This is safe, you don't have to hold it anymore. And when that signal becomes a ritual, when it happens daily, you're no longer at the mercy of memory or mental clutter. You're training your brain to trust a structure. That's neuroplasticity in action. This isn't just organization, it's identity work. You are becoming someone who designs focus, not someone who chases it. And every captured thought is a vote for that new identity. So here is your moment. Create your second mind inbox, paper or digital. Use it for one day. Upload everything, no matter how small. Then notice, really notice how much wider you feel, how much more attention you have for what matters. This is the beginning, not of doing more, but of thinking less and creating better. Ready to begin? You've just learned something most people never realize. Your brain was never meant to be a storage unit. It was built to create. Mental overload isn't a sign of disorganization, but a signal that you've been holding too much inside. You've seen the pattern, you've named the cost, and today you took your first step toward freeing your mind by building a second mind. That's not small, that's strategy. Because transformation isn't about being perfect, it's about building new rituals that let your clarity grow stronger one day at a time. So take a breath, you're no longer carrying everything alone. You're creating a system that supports your mind instead of draining it. And what comes next will show you how to turn this small shift into a lasting framework, one that rebuilds your ability to focus, follow through, and feel calm in your own life again. If today's episode showed you that focus is not a personal flaw but the result of a broken system, then you're already one step ahead of the loop you've been stuck in. Change My Mind is not another self-help course. It's a complete cognitive reset designed to rewire how you think, plan, and follow through. It's grounded in neuroscience and built for real life. If your days feel scattered, if your brain never seems to rest, if you're exhausted from juggling reminders, tasks, and mental taps, this is the system that helps you breathe again. One shift at a time, with clarity that adapts to you, not the other way around. The link is in the description, and this program is only available through this channel. Click now to access Change My Mind and start building the system your clarity has been waiting for. If this episode spoke to you, hit like, share it with someone who needs less chaos and more calm, and drop a comment below. What's the one thing your brain keeps trying to remember that it shouldn't have to? In the next episode, why 90% of to-do lists fail and how to fix yours. I am Marcus Voss, expert in focus, productivity, and mental clarity, and your next chapter starts here.